Germany is becoming probably more popular than the US, even for masters. And the culture is mostly, I would say, 9 out of 10 times, I only face meritocracy. 95% of universities are government.
Okay.
It's very difficult to find a private university. It's only 5%. And all the government universities have a very high standard. And the fee is like 250 euro per semester.
Great.
Yeah, and 215 euros is like 20,000 rupees. It's much more expensive in India.
In India, yes,
Right.
actually. So no discrimination as such.
So it's an equal opportunity. So you get good quality education, affordable price, the social life is good, you have good work-life balance, you can learn while you are studying in the work student. So there are many positive aspects of it. And like I mentioned, Germany needs more people. When I went to the hair stylist, let's say, salon, the hairstylist has to hang the diploma he got in hairstyling in his shop, otherwise he can't practice.
Okay.
Being a vegetarian also has been a challenge from eating out. My only advice would be take the language seriously.
We are also trying to build a network of Indian professionals in India and Germany and Indian students in India and Germany. So these 4 pillars, connecting them together for seamless exchange of information opportunities.
Indians in general are contributing a lot to the society's development. Very small young children, 3 years, 4 years, they are trying to ride a cycle ahead. They wear a fluorescent jacket, they wear a helmet.
Yes, I've seen that.
The parent is actually cycling few feet behind, the child is driving ahead, and just see how they're waiting at the signal.
Okay.
Even in a road where there's no traffic. There is zero traffic, but if there is a red signal, the child is stopping first, even without the parents telling them, and then if it is green, only even the dogs respect it.
Okay.
Right.
Namaste. I am Dr. Suyash Chavan, Indian Foreign Service Officer working at the Consulate General of India, Munich. Dear friends, India will be celebrating 75 years of independence, and this year we are celebrating 70 years of India-Germany diplomatic relations. As a part of this celebration, we are bringing a new initiative, Success Story of Indians in Germany. India's success in these 75 years is also a result of all her sons and daughters who are living in different countries. Today we have here with us Mr. Raghavan. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Raghavan originally hails from Chennai and he is the Senior Vice President of Siemens Healthineers. It is one of the most important companies in the sector of healthcare and one of the largest companies in Germany. It has a large presence in India, and here in Erlangen we have Siemens Healthineers headquarters. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Yeah. And a lot of Indian students and professionals work here at Erlangen at the headquarters. Today we'll know from sir his journey, his experience, and we'll request him to guide our Indian students and professionals back in India. Thank you for joining here, sir. We are privileged to have you with us.
My pleasure, Chavan.
Sir, could you please tell us about your background and your journey?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I was born in Chennai, proper Chennai, and grew up in Chennai, studied in Chennai. I studied in the Ramakrishna Mission School and the Government College. I studied my BCom. And right after that, I was about to join the National Defence Academy Short Service Commission.
Okay.
Because I used to be an NCC, a brand officer and all that, but my parents had nothing doing. Then came the opportunity to join Siemens at that time. They were recruiting trainees.
Okay.
And I joined Siemens already in 1983.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But interesting part about Siemens is that I was never in one job for more than 3 years, even within India.
Okay.
So I've been moving in multiple locations, multiple businesses. Siemens is one of the big companies in India also, and the relationship is over 100 years.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, many people don't know that the first telegraphic undersea cable, John, between Calcutta and Germany was laid by Siemens.
Fantastic.
More than 100 years back. So that's a long history of Siemens. So it's a highly reputed engineering company,
right,
and has a good reputation in India. So that's why I chose to join Siemens. So been in Siemens now for a long time, and then I came, of course, in 2012. I came to our headquarters here for the healthcare.
Okay, great. And this decision of coming to Germany was because you were working in Siemens India, and then through the company you came here?
Yes. So, like I said, I was in multiple locations and multiple businesses, and I joined the healthcare business in 2000.
Okay.
And started as a head of marketing and sales in India, and then became a CEO in 2004. Okay. So then we had India plus the South Asia cluster, as they call, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh. So I was heading the operations there for 9 years. It's a big business. In India alone, we used to do about 150 million euro business per annum. And of course, once you're a CEO, then you look for the next step. And then, since I was in Siemens, I had a close contact with our headquarters as well.
Right.
And headquarters shows a lot of interest in India as well. And then came an opportunity to head global marketing and sales operation for a product called computer tomography, CT scanners.
Right.
So it's a global operation. We do about 2 billion euros of volume, annual volume.
Okay.
And then came the opportunity to head the global marketing and sales. So there was a phone call one day from the head of that unit, Walter Matzendorfer. He said, "Hey Raghavan, would you be interested?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, you start the preparations." That was the interview on the phone, because we knew each other for a long time. So that's how I came in 2012 to our headquarters here in Germany. And even here, I've been moving different jobs already every 3 years. 3 years in that role, and then subsequent roles.
Okay.
That's how I came. I landed in Germany.
Fantastic, sir. And what were your first impressions coming from Chennai, from India? It's a different culture altogether, and I'm pretty sure during those times it must have been even more difficult. So could you tell us about your first impressions here?
Yeah. Actually, my connection to Germany has been not just from 2012, because I've been visiting our headquarters almost twice a year. Meetings, review meetings used to happen here. So Germany, I used to also travel to US regularly for global conferences and all that. So I see Germany is very, very different even as compared to the US. It's much different from India. What is really attractive here is the social security system here. I mean, when I used to talk to our colleagues here in Germany, and all the education for children, for them, they don't spend anything at all, even up to the post-graduation. All education is free. Healthcare is free for all the citizens. Of course, you also pay high taxes. That's the case here. But the social security is very high. But you also feel very safe. Europe is relatively safer, but Germany probably is one of the safest places. It has very low crime rates. That was one of the considerations, because I had grown-up children when I was to come here. My children were finishing 10th standard in India.
Okay.
I have twins. I have a boy and a girl.
Oh, fantastic.
So I was to be very sure if it's a safe place for children at that time to come.
It's a very crucial year.
Exactly, yeah. And then they had to do +1, +2 here, and then the college and all that. But then when I spoke with my friends here and colleagues, they said, "You should not worry. It's a very safe place. Erlangen in particular is also very safe."
Okay.
So there are many things to learn from this country. And so most of them are positive. And I said, yes, why not?
And talking about the struggles and challenges, I'm sure that it must have been difficult for you and your family initially. Could you just tell us about the struggles or challenges and how you overcame them?
You know, the biggest challenge is the language. Because I've been traveling, I was a little bit okay but for my family, it was a real big challenge. You can get nothing done if you don't speak the local language. And everything takes time, right? Even if you want to get a telephone connection done, sometimes it takes you 2 months to get a telephone connection.
Okay.
You want to call a plumber, you need to speak the local language.
Yes.
So I would say language is one of the big things that people have to take care of. Second, personally for me, being a vegetarian, also has been a challenge from eating out.
Right.
It's very tough.
You would say now it's a challenge with the vegan culture and all?
It's still, even now,
Okay.
it's not so popular. So most of the restaurants, you have to really explain what vegetarian means. You have to tell them kind flesh, kind fish, kind eye. So you have to specify what vegetarian means.
Yeah.
So food, I would say, is also an issue. So if you get used to the language and the food, if you're eating outside, then that's the first thing you need to focus to get used to.
Right.
And then you are well settled here.
And how difficult was it to learn the language, especially for your kids, for your children?
Yeah, I mean, children generally tend to learn faster. So my children didn't have much of a difficulty. They took some went some classes, and they already, even in +2, they already passed B2.
Oh, great!
And my son even decided to do electrical engineering in German language.
That's fantastic.
When just 2 years into Germany, he developed confidence to study in German.
Okay.
Electrical engineering. So actually, he's right now finishing it this year.
Okay. From where, sir?
He's studying in the place called FH Aachen. Fachhochschule Aachen.
Yes.
Aachen is very popular for the education. Electrical engineering is a very famous place. So that's how. I mean, that should tells you that it's tough, but it's not impossible.
Okay. So
If
you have the determination, then you can learn the language.
Exactly. If you want to. My daughter didn't want to do it. She said, "I don't want language to be a challenge." So she went to Rotterdam.
Okay.
To the Erasmus School of Economics. And then she is now in Germany. She's doing masters in Nuremberg, India. So language is tough. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
Okay, great. So could you tell us about Siemens Healthineers and how has the experience been so far working with the company here in Germany especially?
Sure. I mean, Healthineers is part of a global Siemens as a conglomerate, right? Siemens is roughly about 90 billion euro as a big company. And Healthineers actually became a separately listed company recently, Siemens Healthineers AG. So we are at roughly 14 billion euros revenue of the Siemens Healthineers.
Okay.
Everything to do with the healthcare, medical diagnostics, imaging diagnostics, blood test based diagnostics, and operations around the world. We are present in about 170 countries around the world. India is also an important place, so the connection to India is still very strong for us, and it has quite a diverse culture. So I see a lot of Indians already in Siemens in healthcare, also in the rest of the Siemens as well. And the culture is mostly, I would say, 9 out of 10 times, I only face meritocracy.
Right. Which is important.
Most of the time, you don't encounter politics. There is no discrimination. I mean, look at me. Born in Chennai, and today I was heading the global marketing and sales of computer tomography, only because they think you can do it. Yeah. So I have mostly only Germans in my team.
Okay.
I have senior management people reporting to me and stuff like this. The CEO Bernd Montag is almost like a personal friend.
Okay.
Because he used to come to India very often.
So no discrimination as such.
So it's an equal opportunity company, really focused on diversity.
Okay.
And you, as long as you are able to contribute to the organization, they recognize you.
Absolutely.
And that is why I feel pretty comfortable here.
And what about the work-life balance, the work culture in general, if you compare it to, say, work culture in India, Siemens India or other companies in India, and in the US, because you said you have been traveling to the US also?
Yeah. I mean, work culture in Germany is very different compared definitely to the Indian situation and the US. In India, if you went back home on time, people will start wondering if you have a problem in your job. Right?
Okay.
Also in Japan, I used to go to Japan as well, and we used to sit till 10 o'clock in the office. I used to ask them, why don't you go back home? I used to go every quarter to Japan for a review meeting. They said, if I go back before 11 o'clock at night, my wife and all the people in the society will start thinking I have a problem in my job.
Okay.
So they used to go home at 12 and leave at 6 in the morning.
My God.
And that's a kind of a national culture. But if you look at Germany, if you're not back at home on time, and if you're not spending time with your family in the weekends, they would think something wrong with you. It's exactly the opposite. So it is a very good emphasis on the work-life balance. So people are focused on weekends, definitely quality time with family. People are very particular about vacation. People are very particular about traveling during vacation.
In fact, I think they are encouraged to take
Absolutely.
vacation and to travel.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's the big difference when I came here, people are applying for, I used to get workflows for leave approval. People are planning 1 year ahead. I get applications today, let's say we are at 21. I have now got application for 2022 March from this state to this state, they are going on vacation.
Okay.
I get approval request. This is so important as a work-life balance. And I think it's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
Eventually you're more productive. It's not about how many hours you spend. It's also about the quality of time. And so if you plan well, I think it's also very productive. You know, if you look at overall in Germany, one of the challenges that Germany is facing is about this, the life tree, as they call it, the Lebensbaum, right? So it's almost slowly getting inversed, meaning the younger generation as a percentage of population as compared to older generation. So normally the tree in India is like this. You have a
have a positive demographic.
Exactly. And then the Germany tree is beginning to turn like this. Right? So this has been ongoing for some time. And I recently read a study by the German government. They are predicting by 2030, the workforce will shrink by 4 million people.
Okay.
They define workforce between 20 and 64 is the workforce. And this will, in absolute numbers, it will shrink by 4 million people. By beyond 2030, it shrinks even more.
Okay.
So they actually have a kind of a crisis that is looming. And they've also identified the branches in which they need people, which is definitely IT, computer science, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and also in the healthcare, meaning in the medical profession. So there's a lot of potential where Germany needs to increase the workforce availability.
Right.
In fact, they even changed the education system to make more people come into the workforce. Till about 3 years back, or it's almost 4 years back, they never had bachelors and masters in Germany. They had only one program called the diploma. So you were, and that's a 4.5-year program. So after your +2, in fact, even they had 13 years of school.
Okay.
Till about 4 years back, you did 13 years of school, then you will do 4.5 years of a diploma program.
Okay.
It's equivalent of masters or even more. But it delayed the people to come into the workforce, right? People needed so much of time, 13 years of schooling, another 4.5 years before they can come into the workforce. So government recognized the problem. They changed from 13 to 12. It's a very new phenomenon in Germany.
Okay.
Gymnasium was 12 years. And then they broke the diploma program into masters, bachelors and masters.
Like we have it in
Exactly,
India,
like in India. So people after bachelors could still already come back to workforce, and they don't have to finish the masters if required.
Okay.
So you can see the government is trying to do something to address the workforce related issue. So there are a lot of potential. And this is a great opportunity I see for also the Indian students or even professionals.
Okay.
So if you are from mechanical engineering background, automobile engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, IT in programming.
Right.
I even hear that they have relaxed some kind of visa processes as well. Now I think you get a search visa for even 1 year.
Okay.
So even though you don't have a job on hand, you could come to Germany applying for a search visa, job search visa. If you belong to this category, then you get your visa faster.
Right.
And of course, people get good opportunity. Not Siemens is a big organization, but also automobile, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen. Adidas is headquartered here.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And many other small and middle stand, as they call it. So there are a lot of opportunities for people with this kind of engineering, education background, computer science background.
Mittelstand as in the small and medium size.
Exactly. And that's the backbone of German economy. You have these big companies,
right,
but the real export, 60% of German exports is coming from this Mittelstand, the medium enterprises.
Right.
And there are so many maybe unknown names, but they are all big companies, each of them having 2-3 billion euro revenues of that caliber. So opportunities are very high. But the main advice I would give to people would be first to get a certain level of German language.
Okay. So, could you tell us about the opportunities that are there for Indian students here, Indian professionals, in Germany in general, and Siemens in particular? The opportunities that are there right now, and the kind of opportunities that we are expecting in the next few years.
Sure. So, like I mentioned, my children also went to college here, and so I made a lot of interesting discoveries at that time in terms of education. So if you don't study in the German system, although they have this 12 years of schooling, if you don't study in the German system, and if you study, my children studied in the international school, this IB curriculum, then that is not considered equivalent to the German school final. So for example, my son could not join his electrical engineering directly. He had to do a 1-year bridge program. Yeah. So they call it as a preparatory year program or something, because they believe that the maths and physics in the German curriculum is slightly advanced, because they had 13 years, remember?
Right.
Earlier they had 13 years, they brought it to 12 with the same syllabus.
So earlier 13 years plus a 4 years of diploma was the general course. Now they reduced it to 12
years and then bachelor's and master's.
Like we have in India, yes.
But because they had 13 years before, their curriculum was broader.
Right.
And internationally, school students only do 12 years, but they had 13 years. So to bring parity with the German students, because their curriculum is bigger, that's what they believe. So if you're not in the German system, you can't go into the college immediately. You have to do a bridge program. They call it as a preparatory program.
So where is it done? In India?
So no, here. So it's called. They organize it in Germany. Every region has, every university has a program called Studienkolleg. It's either 6 months to 12 months, where they teach you a German language, plus maths and physics. So they teach you, and then you're eligible to get into a graduation program. Otherwise, you can't go into graduation program. Or if you want to come directly from India to join a graduation program, you have to do the first year of graduation already, and then come and join again first year. So meaning they want to see 13 years of schooling or equivalent of that. Right? So I know colleagues, I know children who have done first year of engineering in India, and then they apply, and then they get admission here to join the first year. Yeah. So this is something which is unique here, and it's very slowly changing. There is pressure on them to change. But currently, if you're not from the German schooling system, you need to do 1 more year of bridge program. Yeah? And of course, my son did that. It's a residential program. And then education is mostly free. I mean, you spend about 200 euros per semester. So it's cheaper than in India. Yeah.
So this is overall or just for engineering?
All colleges.
Public
the maximum
colleges.
All government colleges. See, the good thing about here is the standard is pretty high in most of the universities. 95% of universities are government. It's very difficult to find a private university. It's only 5%. And all the government universities have a very high standard. I mean, the famous TUM, the LMUs, FAO in Nuremberg, Aachen, all of them are all government institutes, and the fee is like 250 euro per semester.
Great.
Yeah, and 215 euros is like 20,000 rupees. It's much more expensive in India.
In India, yes,
right?
Actually,
only thing is, of course, your living expenses are relatively higher here. So
how much would that be?
So you should roughly calculate around 800 to 1,000 euros per month. Because the rentals would be depending on the city. Munich is very expensive. So you spend about 400, 500 euros on rentals. Maybe another 300 to 400 for living expenses. Yeah. So roughly that is your budget that you should keep in mind.
But they also allow students to work, right? Here.
Yeah. So that's another interesting aspect. They have a program called work students. Right? So every student is allowed to work for maximum of 15 to 20 hours per week. Officially, you can't work for longer than that. And the university system allows you time to also go and work like this. So all the industries, most of the industries hire work students.
Okay.
And roughly people, even if you're a good work student, I think they earn around 800 euros per month sometimes. Yeah?
Okay.
So that kind of opportunity exists across Germany. And German government encourages people to do this work studentship. And this has a huge advantage that when you are studying, you're also getting exposed to what is happening in the industry.
Okay.
So there are many people who are able to work in the same field what they are studying as well. So in the university you see the theory, and then maybe in the where you work you see the practical applications of some of this.
Right.
So you are exposed to the industrial current standard and how the academic standard is compared to this as well. And many industries also work closely with the academic university as well. So there is a good exchange program. So they both are at the same standard. So this is another very unique aspect here, the work student as an opportunity that you're studying, you're also getting to know the corporate world or the skills you're developing. So by the time you finish, your employability is so much higher because they know, they have seen you so closely, and that's a big advantage, right?
Right.
If you have worked as a work student for 1 or 2 years in one company, and if you're good, then you have a much higher chance of joining that company itself.
Okay.
As compared to wondering where will I get my next job and stuff. So that's a good thing. But bachelors, most of them are in German language. In masters, there are many programs in English, which many universities offer. I would say 50% of the master's program people can find in English language.
Okay.
So that is an advantage. They recognize the bachelor's done in India, so that they recognize. So you can then apply directly into the master's program here. There's a very good website called DAAD.
Right.
So if people go to DAAD website, you can see most of the programs that are available. Best would be for them to immediately then write an email to the concerned university. There is always a student advisor, and they clarify. That system works very well. You send your email, you get responses.
Oh, great.
Which is a very good thing as well. So students, I would say, Germany is becoming probably more popular than the US, even for masters.
Right.
I mean, there are so many students are coming in now, and because it is available in English, and the general cost is so much lower as compared to going and studying in the US, I think Germany will be a very good destination.
Great.
If you're already if you study here in masters, you have a much bigger opportunity to find jobs here, because when you are doing masters, you can be a work student, and then from there you can get into a job.
Right.
But so that is, if you study here, you have an advantage. If you have studied in India, you can still try and apply, and then, like I said, you can also apply for a search visa for 1 year, and then you can come here, learn your language, and then at that time apply. But I would recommend students to finish masters and then apply for a job.
Okay.
Because I mentioned earlier they had this diploma, which is bachelor's masters together. So majority of the engineers in Germany have all done diploma program, meaning master's equivalent. So if you're only doing bachelor's and coming, not now but in future, you might have a disadvantage.
Okay.
For maybe future opportunity. So it might be a good idea, good strategy to finish masters and then get into a job here.
Okay.
So
great. And sir, how are the Indians in different companies or different sectors here in Germany actually contributing to the German economy and society? Could you just tell us about that?
Yeah. This is typically you're brown skinned, right? And people tend to see you as if you're an asylum seeker. Some people think, some old Germans think that these are asylum seekers, and we are a burden on their society. And then, interestingly, the reality is actually the other way.
Okay.
Meaning, the pensioners, right? So, government is able to pay pension to the pensioners based on what the earning community is contributing to pension fund today. So, meaning if you are now earning and you have a compulsory social service contribution. So what you are contributing now to the pension is what they are using to pay to the old pensioners.
Right.
If there is no sufficient workforce today, pensioners won't get their pension.
Absolutely.
Because the pension fund is not sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
They need the current workforce to pay for previous generation.
Right.
Yeah, and in that context, you can see I have seen in personal experience probably 9 out of 10 or almost 10 out of 10 Indians who are here are tax paying and contributing to social security and the pension funds.
Okay.
I know of maybe nobody as yet who is depending on a state Arbeitslosengeld, as they call it, right? So unemployment money
Benefits.
Nobody is claiming to the extent that I know of.
Okay.
Right. So Indians in general are contributing a lot to the society's development. Mostly highly trained, skilled workforce. So many of them are in textile engineering, chemical engineering, computer science, electrical, mechanical. So we are coming at a respectable entry point, and you can see they are all contributing positively to the German economy as a workforce, as well as the contributing to the economic development as well.
And do you think Indians are integrating well enough with the society?
So they say in German phrase, as they say, "Jein," right? Jein means it's neither a ja nor a no. It's not. I think there are some
improvements.
I mean, there is some logic, meaning there is some explanation for it. One is language, right? So you have to become such a good native level speaker to integrate in the free time. In the office, integration is pretty good.
Okay.
So there is social integration. People spend the evenings together in a beer bar, and all that happens. But Germans, by nature, are also very private.
Right.
Yeah, so they are very fiercely independent. Even within the family, between husband and wife, also they have their private times, and maybe they don't share everything and stuff like that.
They respect their privacy.
Privacy is very important for them. So in that context, on the weekends and stuff like this, you can't simply walk into somebody's house.
It's not like the Indian culture.
Exactly. Probably you have to plan 2 months ahead. Hey, can I come on this Sunday between 4 and 5? And if they say, let me check my calendar, and then you can come or not. So there are
very
challenges.
Disciplined,
very pre-planned.
Very
pre-planned. So cultural integration is not as high as you would probably find in the US, where language is not a problem, where mostly everybody is an immigrant. See, in the US, everybody is an immigrant, right? Whereas here, it's a very homogeneous population. Immigrants are still a very small minority.
Right.
Majority of them are locals. So it will take some time. But there are many Germans who take genuine interest in the Indian activities. There are many groups in Erlangen, for example, like Namaste, Surabhi, and we celebrate
community organizations.
Yeah, we celebrate Diwali or Holi. Maybe half of them are Germans who come and join.
Oh, fantastic.
So they are interested in joining at least in those occasions. But overall social integration is still a work in progress.
Okay.
Still some way to go.
Great, sir. So, if you could tell us about some best practices, in short, that we could adopt as Indians, I mean the low-hanging fruits or some easily adoptable practices that you think could be done back in India?
Yeah. Okay, so purely from a social in general, right? What I really like about here is the discipline in general. If there is a rule, people follow. I have a German colleague who used to work in India, and I took over from him, Wolfen. He used to describe, in India, traffic signals are a recommendation. It's up to you whether you want to respect it or not, for example. Whereas if you see here, I mean, it's a great sight. There are so many kindergartens, and just go and watch in the morning, whether it is snowing or whether it is sunshine. Very small young children, 3 years, 4 years, they are trying to ride a cycle. Ahead, they wear a fluorescent jacket. They wear a helmet.
Yes, I've seen that.
The parent is actually cycling few feet behind. The child is driving ahead, and just see how they're waiting at the signal.
Okay.
Even in a road where there's no traffic, there is zero traffic. But if there is a red signal, the child is stopping first, even without the parents telling them, and then if it is green, only even the dogs respect it. Okay. Right. So I mean, this is something so good to get inculcated at a very young age, to respect this kind of a social discipline. That mindset, I think, is something probably is very important as a takeaway for me. That this so discipline is something very important. Planning things as much as possible.
Right.
Maybe Germans overdo. Like even in free time, even on Saturday, Sunday, they have private calendars, which is kind of full. It might be a little over. But in the offices, I mean, I mentioned about jokingly that people apply for 1 year ahead for a leave. Actually, it's a good thing, because everyone knows who is going to be available on a particular time, and they can plan. If they set up a meeting based on availability, then they are available.
Okay.
At that time, everybody joins the meeting. They come together, finish the meeting, and then move on. Right? So it's kind of a planning and sticking to a plan as much as possible.
Right.
Is also something. It's a very good value system, I would say. We are too much on the Indian stretchable time concept. Yeah. Whereas here, I think I have learned, and I find it very valuable in terms of you get really more productive in that sense. You're respecting each other's time.
True.
If you say you're available, you're available. If you are coming at this time, you're coming at this time. Whether it is for a dentist appointment or to your office meeting or to a haircutting salon, they respect it. Here they also take. We have these ITI programs in India, right?
Right.
Meaning the skills.
Yes, I have visited a few to actually see what goes on.
The ITI programs.
Yes.
They have an equivalent of ITI here called the Berufsschule.
Okay.
Right? So this Berufsschule is, so if you're a plumber or I always joke about it. When I went to the hair stylist, let's say salon, the hairstylist has to hang the diploma he got in hairstyling in his shop, otherwise he can't practice.
Okay.
And this is another extreme. You can't think of this in India. Anybody can start any work without any certification.
Yes.
But here, without certification, you can do nothing. And that also brings a level of quality.
Right.
And that, I think, is a good thing that we also have to learn. We take things too lightly. That anybody can do any job, even serious electrification job at in houses or some very serious work. You don't know whether he got any basic knowledge, whether he got any trained, does he have any certification.
Right.
We don't pay enough attention to that. Although systems are there, we don't follow. Here they follow to the T. There are no exceptions.
Okay.
Everybody is certified to do his job and they do it well. Right? So when you come and see their efficiency, it's fantastic. So there are many things that we can learn as to how to take things seriously, how to be more disciplined, how to do a good documentation.
Right.
No, even a house cleaning meister, when they come, they maintain a log record of at what time they came, what part of the building they cleaned, and when is the next cleaning schedule, how you segregate garbage. Just something as simple as this, garbage segregation.
Right.
We all do here. When we come here, we do, but probably when we go back, we tend to throw things on the street, right?
And then we complain India is the
Exactly. So we have to start as an individual, and for that, I think there are many things to really learn and adapt and spread these kind of good messages around.
Right. So take back best practices from
Absolutely.
Germany. Great, sir. So finally, what message would you give or tips would you give to Indian students and professionals?
Yeah. So, like I said, education is very affordable here in Germany and very high, good quality, very high standards. Right? I would say 8 out of 10 are of a standard of maybe the NITs or even IITs of that standard. And they are so easily affordable from a financial point of view. It's very difficult to join, but passing out is not as easy.
Okay.
It's pretty tough. In fact, in the first year, 50% of the people don't continue.
Okay.
In some colleges, even 300 people join in the first year. The second year, only 150 of them proceed further. Some of them give up because they chose a wrong field. Some of them think that it's too much, they take a 1 year break. And some of them think that they have to study something else completely.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's easy to get in, but the pass, let's say the gate for qualifying and passing is very high. In India, typically 35-40% you are passed, right?
Right.
40% maybe you are passed, but can you imagine
50%?
50. But here I think the pass percentage is 65.
Okay.
You have to score
Which is pretty
65%
To
pass.
just pass. Okay.
So they raise the bar when you finish the course, not when you probably get in. It's probably easier. So you get good quality education, affordable price, the social life is good, you have good work-life balance, you can learn while you are studying in the work student. So there are many positive aspects of it. And like we mentioned, Germany needs more people.
Right.
Yeah, so we saw that the next 10 years the workforce is shrinking and they are worried about it. They need more people. They are recognizing this. My only advice would be take the language seriously. It's not the easiest of the language, but it's not also impossible.
Right.
So even in India, before you come here, go up to the A2 level of A2 certification, and then it becomes easier for you in terms of further studies in the integration in society and all of them. So big opportunity, big corporates are sitting here. The world's top automobile industry is sitting here. Companies like Siemens, Adidas is headquartered here. Schaeffler is headquartered here. So there is no dearth of opportunity.
Right.
And I think we as a community, Indian government, I mean, it's good to see that you take this initiative to see,
Thank you.
can we have a strategic approach to it? So that maybe the government here also sees this as a positive collaboration with India to get the right workforce they need.
Right.
Not that they get people whom they don't need, but they get the ones they really badly need.
Yes.
So if we can support them, so you prioritize 4 or 5 skills, and then we do some good preparatory work, and if they get even better experience with the people coming here, this collaboration can become very positive win-win. And maybe you could even ask something in return from Germany at the governmental level. Maybe they collaborate into some the universities, so that they are maybe even in schools there could be some collaboration, or maybe at the bachelor's program there is a good collaboration, and maybe from there people can come here relatively easy. So it can become win-win for both India and Germany, and it's really good to see you, CGI in Munich, and you in particular taking interest in this. I think it makes sense to think more strategically about it.
Yes, sir. In long term, probably.
In long term, have a 5 or 10-year game plan.
Yes, sir.
I mentioned about my son studying in FA Aachen and 1-year bridge program.
Right.
65% of students come from China.
And
then I indirectly I came to know maybe the government is behind it, because they want to get their children sent to Germany, learn good engineering skills, and then come back to China to support their economic development. The first year program is expensive. That is a fully paid program, the 1-year program that you're in that institute where my son went. I even heard that the Chinese government even sponsored the students there.
Okay.
And there is an entrance exam for that institute, for Aachen. In China, there are 65 centers where they conduct an entrance exam. 65 centers in China.
Okay.
In India, there are 4 centers where we conduct that exam. You go to the German consulate in the 4 cities where you write that exam.
Okay.
Where I think the entrance exam has a high mathematics expectation and stuff like this. So there you see a strategy of the government. Right? So they train their children very well. Maybe they even funded to come here initially. There are 65 entrance exam centers compared to 4 in India. So there you see a strategy in action. So maybe it's time for us to also think.
Right, sir.
So maybe we have an advantage. I am sure that Indians are more adept in the language learning. Because even in India, everybody is learning at least 2 or 3 languages.
Yes.
No, there is not a single Indian with only 1 language skill.
Right, sir.
Probably, right? So I think we are better in learning the language. We have native good skills in mathematics and stuff like this. So now is the time to think more strategically. And then if we have a good buy-in from the government level as well, in the next 5 to 10 years, this can be a big win-win.
Even the government is very supportive of these things, but I think this has to be communicated also from the professionals to the students, like the tips that you have given. We are also trying to build a network of Indian professionals in India and Germany and Indian students in India and Germany. So these 4 pillars, connecting them together for seamless exchange of information, opportunities. and if we get support from the government and a long-term vision, I think this would benefit all of us.
Definitely, yeah. It has to be a multi-pronged approach.
Yes, sir.
Then we can achieve. We can't only depend on government to do. But I'm saying it's maybe time to think more strategic.
Right. Involve all the stakeholders.
Exactly. Involve all the stakeholders, and you will. My gut feeling says the German government will be very open to this because they need people.
Yes.
They need skilled people,
right,
who can contribute to the economy. And I think in general they have a good experience with the Indians here. And many companies here have a deep root in India.
India
at the corporate level as well. Siemens Healthineers has recently announced to invest 160 million in a development center in Bangalore. 160 million euros. We're going to recruit probably another 1,500 people for software development in Bangalore.
Okay.
And those software is what is going to be used in all the global products. It is becoming a global headquarters for software development.
Okay.
Already Bangalore. So at the corporate level, there is a good integration between the two in India and Germany. Now it's a time to maybe exploit all this relationship.
Yes.
To make it into a more structured approach where we can make this process much easier. And whatever you're doing is absolutely the right thing.
Thank you.
At least clarify it, make it clear to people, and make it easy for them to go through this process, address their concerns and questions in a proactive way.
Right, sir.
That will help.
Thank you, sir. And one last thing, since you are from, you belong to Tamil Nadu, sir, we'd request you to give a short message, tell our brothers and sisters in Tamil Nadu, in Tamil. That would be great if you could send them a message.
Maybe I used the phrase our Prime Minister used in one of the meetings. So, Yadum Ure Yavarum Kele. So, தமிழ்நாட்டிலிருந்து உலக வணிகம் பல வருடங்கள், பல நூற்றாண்டுகளுக்கு முன்னாடி நடந்திருக்கு. சோழர்கள் காலத்திலிருந்து நடந்திருக்கு. தமிழர்கள் எல்லா இடத்துலையும் போய் ரொம்ப சிறப்பாக அந்த வந்த ஊரில் நல்லா ஊறி போய் அவங்க கூட சேர்ந்து எல்லாருக்கும் கான்ட்ரிபியூட் பண்ணுறாங்க. ஸோ அதே மாதிரி தமிழர்களுக்கும் இப்போது எர்லாங்கனில் தமிழ் சங்கம் வச்சுருக்கோம். இங்கே தமிழ் ஸ்கூல் இருக்குது, தமிழ் சங்கம் இருக்குது, தமிழ் புது வருஷம் கொண்டாட போகிறோம். இப்போது 14th April இங்கேயும் எர்லாங்கனில் தமிழ் சங்கம் நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்கு. ஸோ தமிழர்கள் எங்கே இருந்தாலும் ஜெர்மனி இஸ் ஆல்சோ a great place to come. வாங்க, சேர்ந்து வளரலாம். நன்றி.
Nandri, sir. So this was Mr. Raghavan, Senior Vice President at Siemens Healthineers, telling us about his experience, his wonderful journey, and giving us insights and tips. I'm pretty sure students and professionals in India would be benefited by this. Thank you for joining and thank you for being a part of this initiative. We hope to bring more professionals and Indian achievers, and we hope that this will guide you in your careers. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.